If you are a leader of a small certification organization and doubt the feasibility of going through the Herculean task of accreditation, you are at the right place to find motivation and build credibility for your credentialing process. Good morning, everyone. I am Sheetal Tiwari, President for Council for Homeopathic Certification, and today I am going to take you on our journey of getting the NCCA stamp of validation for the Certified Classical Homeopath, the CCH credential. So first, please allow me to give you an overview of who we are and what we do. Homeopathy is a 225-year-old system of medicine which works by guiding the innate healing system by use of remedies sourced by nature and specially chosen for each individual. It is recognized by the World Health Organization as one of the most widely practiced, safe, and cost-effective systems. Homeopathy is a $22 billion industry in the world, showing a growing trend of 20% every year. A surge in practitioners in the past 30 years led to a need of establishing professional standards, and so the CHC was incorporated in 1992 to certify homeopaths in the United States and Canada. Our mission has been to advance the homeopathic profession by certifying individuals who meet and maintain a recognized standard of ethical competency in classical homeopathy and to assist the public in choosing appropriately qualified homeopaths. We envision a healthcare system that encompasses certified classical homeopathic practitioners to be accessible to all. Now, we are an all-volunteer board with one part-time paid executive assistant, and currently we have 12 professional members and one public member on the CHC board. We certify about 30 to 40 homeopaths annually, and there are approximately 700 homeopaths who recertify every year. CHC considers itself a small certification program, but I want to share the definition of small program that we are using for this presentation. We adopted the definition put forth in the 3rd edition of the ICE Certification Handbook, which defines testing programs as small if at least one of the following statement is true. The number of candidates is insufficient to confidently interpret classical test theory statistics and issue the pass or fail results to candidate quickly. The population of credential holders is too small to easily fill SME panel or to confidently interpret the result of a job analysis or competency profile survey, or the annual revenue of the credentialing organization is insufficient to retain specialists, either staff or outsourced, for each part of the examination development and delivery processes. Now, please note that this definition excludes program as small if they could overcome the insufficient number of candidates, credential holders, or revenue by making different program choices. Example, by reducing the number of test form in order to have sufficient candidate counts per form, or by charging higher examination fees to cover the costs. Now, while we were aware of our challenges, let me throw some light on the reasons why we pursued the NCCA accreditation. The NCCA stamp validates our certification process and raises the awareness and perception of homeopathic practice in the United States and Canada. Accreditation was essential for recognizing professionally educated homeopaths, and that's why a long-term strategic goal of accreditation was set right at the founding of the CHC. Accreditation not only provides an added value to the certification process of the CHC, but also to the credential holders through increased business opportunities. Now, without any delays, let me tell you with our personal experience, what are the must-haves for the path of success to achieve the NCCA accreditation. The number one to start with is a full support of the board of directors. Everyone from your organization has to be on the same page and equally motivated. You need strong leaders who are dedicated and consistent throughout the process. We also consider ICE membership, and attending the conference every year is essential because it has been a significant learning experience for all the leaders who attended the conference and shared the knowledge gained with the board to enhance the certification process. The next important thing to review is obviously the overall budget. We determined the overall costs, the in-house versus hiring a consultant, that would go above and beyond the normal operating cost before we set foot in the process. Now, to create a psychometrically valid exam from start to finish, that includes job analysis, new exam forms, standard setting, equating study, and annual fees, we estimated it would cost a total of $30,000 to $50,000. Now, outsourcing the accreditation application would cost an additional $40,000 to $60,000. And we also were aware that the cost of re-accreditation should be woven into the 5 years in between each re-accreditation application submitted and included in the each year's budgeting. Now, because at the CHC we had strong support of SMEs and dedicated volunteer leadership, there were many steps which we did in-house, such as gap analysis. We are blessed with 2 SMEs, Anne McKay, the President Emeritus, and Dorothy Simoni, the past Vice President. They had previous job analysis experience and they facilitated weekly job analysis meetings for 8 months, and once complete, the job analysis survey was hosted and distributed by the CHC rather than outsourcing. Exam item writing, editing, and creating the test form were done internally. The initial application and the re-accreditation application were accomplished internally with Board of Directors chairing volunteer SME committees. And so for the CHC, the total budget came somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000. The Finance Committee began to budgeting 3 years prior to applying for initial accreditation. Now, as you see, we were able to achieve the complete process at a lower cost. This was possible only because we gained strong support of board members, SMEs, and volunteers. So, if you are a small organization like us, volunteer worker bees are a must-have. We use a board matrix which identifies board members' skill set in order to maximize their contribution to committee they serve, and the same matrix to appoint new members with specific skill sets required at any given time to meet our strategic goals. We also conduct an orientation interview for every new certificant who passes the CHC exam. And the need of volunteers to sustain the organization is emphasized to the new certificants, and they are encouraged to volunteer for various committees according to their expertise. Also, with limited resources, you have to be very careful in choosing the right partners for test development and delivery. Ensure that you can have effective communication. Ensure that psychometricians are flexible and allow for internal facilitation of some activities, possibly through a psychometric consultation. And over time, working with the psychometrician can also enhance your ability to manage your own program via item banking or test delivery software. Now that you know what you need in your arsenal, let me tell you the steps we took to achieve the accreditation. We reviewed NCCA standards and ascertained understanding of it, determined the challenges CHC had with specific standards, reviewed and revised 20-year-old mission, vision, goals of the organization. We determined that the CHC met eligibility requirement, and after that forwarded the letter of intent to obtain accreditation from the NCCA. We also used the self-assessment tool to identify the areas that required changes to meet the NCCA accreditation standard, and this work included writing and revising the bylaws, policy and procedure manual, the handbook manuals, templates and forms like the certification form, recertification, item writing, score reporting, conflict of interest, and non-disclosure. We also build our website so that the information is easily accessible to all, and documentation of all processes, committee meetings, policy changes, etc. was prioritized. Now, after that, we identified the tasks that can be completed internally and what needed to be outsourced. We used RFPs to hire consultants for outsourcing tasks and identified the strengths and expertise of SMEs and staff. And we gained an understanding of the special expertise of psychometricians, and we noted that, as I said earlier, we may develop similar expertise in SMEs or staff over time. We also performed job analysis study, of which Patricia will talk in detail later. And after we received the test blueprint, we created and delivered new test forms. Now, through this chart, let me quickly take you through the entire process of test form development. Our item writing chair, Tara Framer, who is currently with you at the conference, helps us in recruiting volunteers through email blast or individually reaching out to past volunteers, subject experts, or high scorers. Then she conducts the item writing training workshops virtually in groups or through one-on-one sessions. And after getting the security attestations from the volunteers, they are asked to write items related to specific domains and statement based upon their expertise and also our current need. Now we ask them to write 2 sample items which are reviewed by the chair to be sure that the volunteer item writer understood the process, and we are confident to assign them more tasks. Writers upload their items directly on our assessment platform, which go through a preliminary review by the chair to be sure that it matches the objectives and cite approved sources. Now at this point, our item editing team takes the charge and does the final review for adherence to assigned objective, source, grammar, formatting, etc. And it is up to this team to decide whether an item should be transferred to item bank or it should be transferred to item bank for use on a test form, or it should be just rejected or revised. The CEU credits are also awarded to volunteer writers by the item editing chair based upon the total number of items which were accepted by the team. Now we aim for having a minimum of 5 items per objective in our item bank so that when finally the president, exam chair, and the appointed designees work on creating the test form, there are enough choices. Now, I want to emphasize on 2 things which we make sure throughout the process is to maintain a firewall between the item writing and the item editing team. And next important thing we make sure is that all the process of test development is done directly within the assessment tool to maintain the security of the exam. Now, with the help of this process, the beta test was delivered and the psychometrician conducted data analysis and evaluation of the beta test form. She also did the standard setting, equating the other forms. Now my friend Patricia will give you further details shortly. Now, we performed all the SME management and recognition, including providing the CEUs, recognition for volunteers, and developing a transition process, progressing volunteer committee members to become board members. Now, we also documented all the activities, example, the checklist and procedure guide to help maintain the quality. We partnered with the psychometrician to provide guidance to volunteer SMEs. For data management, we utilized a centralized secure file storage for all certification related materials like the initial application, recertification, any complaints or appeals, so that all the critical information is available for future staff, psychometricians, or SME volunteers. Now, for writing the accreditation application document, logistics of completing the application and setting a realistic time estimate is very crucial. As I mentioned earlier, we wrote our own application and the committee worked diligently for almost a year before submitting the application and continued to meet for 6 months following the submission to work on the responses for comments we received from the NCCA. So you may need a consultant to assist in writing application or answer questions. We will suggest keeping a copy of the accreditation application to streamline the renewal process. Now, as you know, accreditation is not just a one-time activity. This talk would be incomplete without highlighting the re-accreditation essentials. The best practices to facilitate the re-accreditation are collecting annual reports, organizing data from previous years for psychometric analysis, maintaining and updating the documents, tracking all relevant data along the way, updating policies and bylaws, versionings, etc., ensuring maintaining exam according to the organization's policy, and transferring knowledge through transitions in board governance. Finally, if our journey inspires you to get accredited and you have the resources, both the financials and volunteers, and the support from your community and stakeholders, you are on the path of success. Thank you so much for listening to me and all the best.